Hi, I'm Jasper Pattendon at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, on the way for you in the next hour, in reverse order. No, I've done it. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth. We'll hear from Wycombe Wanderers women winger turned striker Sally Grimm. Reverse order. Vince Faulkner, will speak live to him, a member of the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, of course, at the Social Warm Hub, which is taking place at Adams Park tonight. It's night 2 of that. It was launched on Tuesday. Trevor Stroud, will hear from him, a director of the Trust. Phew, done it. And also, we kick off the show, of course, as is now tradition for Season 3, with a catch-up with Phil, who I'm sure you're very well aware, but is the head of broadcast and audio at the club. He's the presenter of Ringing in the Blues and host of pre-match drills on Wanderers TV, and is also our match day commentator, of course, for both Wanderers TV and Wycombe Sound, where you can hear all games home and away on 106.6 FM. That's possibly the longest introduction I've ever given him. And no game, of course, to comment on last weekend, but lots to build up to with the visit of Sheffield Wednesday, of course. We spoke to him a little earlier on about what the players have been up to in their sort of downtime, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah, I think some of them are taking the opportunity to go away and spend time with their loved ones, family, those who've got children, etc. And I think it's something that Gareth Ainsworth likes to encourage when these opportunities present themselves during the season. I think obviously there's a large element of trust there, and that'll come as no surprise to regular listeners that Gareth Ainsworth and the players have got a good bond. And I think it's a good physical rest at this stage of a long season. But I think more importantly, Colin, it's a good mental rest as well. It kind of gives them a chance to kind of just get a bit of perspective on life. And as timings go as well, they go into it in a good place in the league off the back of a really good win away at Peterborough. So hopefully we'll see some real benefits from this little break when they take on Sheffield Wednesday at Adams Park on Saturday.
It feels like it's come at such a good time as well, doesn't it? Straight after the busy Christmas period as well, which you imagine can be so demanding for players having to train over Christmas and that sort of thing.
Exactly that, yeah. And like I said, with family as well, it's for us civilians who get to spend time with their family on Christmas Day as normal and other things like that. Footballers can't, and I don't think we should feel sorry for them because they do a wonderful job for a living, but it is quite an intense period physically, mentally, emotionally, if you've got young kids and family as well. And so I think, Gareth Ainsworth, it's interesting to see his tactics on this one as well, giving them a bit of time afterwards with this FA Cup weekend that presented itself as a free weekend. So, hopefully the physical and mental benefits will be there for all to see.
And you spoke to Joe Jacobson earlier, something you can hear and see on Wanderers TV, of course, and a brilliant insight, I'm sure, into what the players have been doing during this time. Yeah,
what was really interesting with Joe was I asked him if, he's been at Wycombe for a long time now, but he's obviously been at other clubs as well in his career. And I asked him if this approach had been used anywhere else, and he said it hadn't. He hadn't experienced it. He certainly hasn't heard of it elsewhere in football as well. So again, it just shows you that kind of like people management skills that Gareth Ainsworth employs. That's slightly different to anywhere else in the football pyramid, certainly in the top 4 divisions. So that was very interesting as well. And Joe's a consummate pro as well, and he leads by example as one of the senior players, as the club captain. And I think all the players know what's expected of them when they're at the training ground and when they're not.
It's really interesting, isn't it? You talk about that relationship, but the things that the players have done over the years, obviously going to France and to Rush as well, and all sorts of other things which you perhaps wouldn't expect, but seem to really benefit them.
Yeah, I think, when you open up a newspaper these days or whatever, and, you see like the Premier League players on their sort of warm weather training, which I've always sort of wondered about, because they then come back into the winter and then it's like you're back in the cold again, having people trying to kick you. You would think if they were going to do anything, they should all maybe go to Iceland or somewhere and have people kicking their shins repeatedly to prepare them for the winter football. But it seems at Wycombe, we don't have the budget to shoot off to Dubai, unfortunately. But I think Gareth is very creative in what he does, with his team bonding exercises and keeping it in the community a lot of the time as well, which again is important for a club like Wycombe Wanderers.
And speaking of the manager, it feels like, the things that he said recently, saying about the second half of the season being stronger and the players injured, there's a real feeling that that's coming to fruition now.
Yeah, and even if you take the injuries out of it, if you look at what Wycombe did last season, the last 15 games of the season, a tremendous run to get into the playoffs. And so it kind of shows you that management of the workload over the season and the sports science department coming to the fore in that It's something that they've done well in the past, and hopefully again this season. And when you factor in the fact they're returning players coming back from injury as well as a few other things to consider too, like the senior players now really establishing themselves in what Gareth Ainsworth said was the more airtime around the place with the likes of Bayo and Stocko not being here anymore. It's taken time, I think, for those characters to establish themselves, and I think we can really see a clear identity again with Wycombe Wanderers, with how they play and how they're led.
And the younger players as well, really starting to get a hold in the team and establish themselves as well.
Yeah, it's a really good blend, isn't it? You often look at great teams in the past and there's a few old heads in there for the experience, and then there's some younger legs and pace and excitement to kind of offset that as well. And Wycombe have that balance at the moment, I think. And it's exciting to watch. And, Anis Lametti is a player that I know Sheffield Wednesday fans are worried about because they've seen what he's done this season. And he had a great assist up there at Hillsborough earlier in the season for Sam Vokes' first goal of the season. So they're concerned about him. Which is great news when you think of a team like Ipswich, Pompey, Sheffield Wednesday worried about Wycombe Wanderers players. I think it's a great place to be. A
real excitement from the fans about the fixture as well. Obviously, it was the biggest game of the season last time out, and set to be a bumper crowd at Adams Park again.
Yeah, it's heading for a sellout. We've got Sheffield Wednesday fans are taking that corner of the Frank Adams as well, an extra 900 seats there, and it means that the home areas, I think, as well with Wycombe's form, should sell out too, which should create a fantastic atmosphere at Adams Park. And Wycombe historically tend to do well on these occasions against the big teams. So, get yourself a ticket if you haven't got one yet, because it should be a fantastic game.
And a great opportunity as well for Wycombe to really demonstrate. We've seen comparatively recently televised games as well, and where Wycombe, as you say, have really stepped up and shown what they can do and adapt against different opponents.
Yeah, I think they've tended to struggle against the teams down the bottom, where people think, they should beat them. But we tend to raise our game somehow against these bigger teams, these much more fancied teams, or whether it's they feel the pressure a bit more, the bigger teams, and when they come to Adams Park and it's a smaller ground than they're used to, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but whatever the formula is at the moment, it's been working well. Beating Pompey and Ipswich at home recently sets them in a good place to take on the Sheffield Wednesday team, who, let's not beat about the bush here, haven't lost for 18 games, which is quite a daunting record, especially when you consider the last of those 18 games was against third in the Premier League, Newcastle United, who I think themselves have only lost maybe once this season as well, I think. But those runs have to come to an end at some point, and I can think of no better place than Sheffield Wednesday's run to come to an end than Adams Park on Saturday.
No, absolutely. And really exciting, as you touched on in previous weeks and your extended chat with the manager for Wanderers TV as well, that it feels like this point of the season, just past the halfway stage, is really when there's an extra rocket booster being fired up or something.
Yeah, something along those lines, definitely. And it's one of those, it's great now, isn't it? Because all games have got significance now. So even when Wycombe aren't playing, you're looking at the results, you're looking at the table, the impact of what's happened to the table, the teams you've got coming up in the next few weeks. Everything's got that much more of a sharper focus to it now because of it really counts now, because we're heading into the business end, aren't we, as they call it. And yeah, even when Wycombe weren't playing, it was looking at other results thinking, all right, if these guys don't win or if there's a draw there, then, when we stay in this position or whatever. And fortunately now teams are catching up with the games in hand as well. So the table's got a bit more of a realistic look about it. But yeah, and what's really good to see is that Wycombe are very much in the shout of those playoff places, which is great. And there's teams that have got to play each other up there as well. The big boys have really got to come to Adams Park. I think bar Ipswich, everyone else has to come to Wycombe. That's left up at the top end of the table now. And that could play into Wycombe's hands as well.
And a few rearranged fixtures as well, meaning there'll be some extra Tuesday night football to look forward to as well, which could be interesting as well.
Yeah, Oxford United later this month, and then Fleetwood as well because of their cup exploits. Football under the lights is always great. Will it impact the squad with the Saturday Tuesday element of it? You would hope that they're well rested and sort of physically and mentally prepared for that when it comes, because they will no doubt be big games. I mean, Oxford Wycombe is always a big game, regardless of where it falls in the season, regardless of where the two clubs are in the table. So that's going to be a good one. It's just a shame it's not on a Saturday, because that would have been another absolutely bumper crowd. On a Tuesday night, it should still be good, but we may lose a few numbers because of the Tuesday night kickoff.
And we're in the January transfer window now, of course, the manager obviously not giving too much away, but it sounds like obviously he's happy with the group that he's got, and perhaps there may not be too much in the way of new signings, possibly the odd outgoing, but it looks like he's keen with the strength of the side that he's got.
Yeah, it's it's a good balanced squad, and I think he's obviously going to be looking around to see what is going on. And I think the big one as well is that fans checking their phone every morning when they wake up to make sure Anish Rometty is still a Wycombe Wanderers player. We're halfway through the window nearly, and he still is, so that's good news. So yeah, we shall see. But yeah, I think you're right. A couple more may go out on loan, or just to kind of focus that squad down again as well. And obviously it develops the players as well, because game time is what it's all about.
The loan system has been so good in recent times, obviously, for Wycombe as well, the players that have come in and had a real impact too.
Yes, exactly that. The loan systems, when they're your players as well, even when they're going out to another club. I mean, Nick Freeman had this. He went to Leyton Orient on loan and has come back and established himself. And I think he's one of the most appearances of the season. I think he's in the top 4 or 5 players in the squad for appearances this season, which when you consider he was out on loan and had a long injury, he's done superbly well to get back in. So yeah, and I think the loan thing is a good thing for everybody concerned, because it's good for the player to get game time if they need to catch the eye of Gareth Ainsworth, or albeit they might be thinking into the future and thinking, well, maybe my time at Wycombe is coming to an end, and it's a win-win then, because then the players are in a better position to kick on, be that at Wycombe or elsewhere. And equally, when in the past when we've had loan players coming in here, at the moment we don't have any loan players in the building, but when they do come here, they're treated like they're one of their own, and they tend to do well as well.
And since we last spoke to you, Daryl Horgan obviously going to Stevenage, a good move for him to get more first team football as well.
Yeah, and Gareth Ainsworth was saying that he's aware of where Daryl is in terms of his career, where he is in terms of his contract status, and it just makes sense for him to be playing regular football. And it's a good move. Of course, it's dropping down a division, but it's the top end of League Two, and they're looking like they're going to have a very successful end to this season. Unfortunately, he's cup tied, so he can't take part in the cup exploits that they've been doing recently. But in terms of getting out of League Two, it's them and Leyton Orient. They're up the top there. There's a title to be scrapped for, not just promotion. And obviously any player would love to be involved in that as well. So, like Gareth said earlier on today, we wish Daryl all the best for that loan spell at Stevenage. And I'm sure lots of Wycombe fans will be keeping a close eye on him.
Another news this week involving ex-players, Craig McHale-Smith, of course, announcing his retirement. Of course, you have many memories of him and his performances when at Adams Park. Yeah,
great pro, not just for Wycombe, but, countless clubs down the years as well. Brighton, Peterborough, Luton, he was a real player, and represented his country on a number of occasions as well. But yeah, I love watching him play for Wycombe, because he was as you have to be here, a typical Gareth Ainsworth player. He really put a shift in for the team. Scored some memorable goals as well, some injury time winners he chips in with. But yeah, really good player for Wycombe Wanderers. We were playing a front three at the time. I think it was a slightly new position for him, but with a player of his calibre and his attitude, you always knew you were going to get maximum effort. And it was a joy to watch. And we wish him all the best for his retirement in football, and be interesting to see if we can get him on comms one day. That would be good, wouldn't it?
No, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to the game on Saturday. Enjoy it yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be a belter. Looking forward to it. And 3:00 Saturday, and Adams Park, the place to be.
Always a pleasure to have Phil on the show. He'll be bringing us the game live, as I say, on Wanderers TV and here on Wycombe Sound on 106.6 FM. Kick-off, of course, at 3:00. Your match build-up starts from midday with Rob and the team live from the car park. Also, Adams Park staging last week the Guarantors Lunch, something which is stretched back over 100 years. On this morning's mid-morning, we caught up with Trevor Stroud, the Trust Director, to find out more.
Yes, it started in 1911, where 40 local businessmen agreed to provide a meal for the senior citizens of Wycombe. And it's continued every year, with a couple of exceptions for COVID, ever since. It's been in various places in the town, but it's been at Adams Park for a number of years now, and Wycombe are very, very proud to be able to support the event.
A really nice occasion for so many, not just the sort of people who have attended, but also those who are involved as well.
Yeah, it is. It is a tremendous day. We had 88 guests. And all the guests are aged 80 or over. So the 88 guests had a combined age of 7,705 years and an average age of 87.5, with the oldest lady being 97 and the oldest gentleman 96.
A fantastic social occasion as well for them to sort of get together and, as you say, for the club to be able to kind of host it and really be involved in that way.
It is, yes. I mean, all of the guests are collected from their homes. They're transported to Adams Park by the guarantors. They're served with a 3-course lunch, entertainment, and then transported home again with a goodie bag. And the whole event is paid for by the guarantors.
And people like Steve Baker in attendance as well, and the mayor and the chairman of the council and Superintendent Emma Burrows from High Wycombe Police. That must be really special too.
It was. It is a real community event, and to see your local MP with his apron on serving wine to the guests was excellent.
And you must have had some great feedback as well from those who attended.
It is humbling, really, in terms of the reaction we get. It means so much to these people. They have friendships that they visit every year, and they really look forward to it. And it is just a tremendous event.
And especially for this time of year as well, because obviously January is a time where people think it's quite miserable. And after Christmas as well, perhaps they might not see too many people.
Yeah, and we do it after Christmas on purpose. Obviously, once the festivities are over, there is perhaps a bit of a flat patch, so that gives people something to look forward to for the new year.
So who are what are the guarantors?
It is just 40 local businessmen, some active, some retired, and that tradition has stayed. And as people retire, then they are replaced. But it is literally just a band of 40 local businessmen. And Wycombe's connections with it have been, Wycombe Wanderers' connections have been very good. Our previous president, Monty Seymour, was a guarantor. Our current president, Ivor Beeks, is a guarantor. Obviously, I'm involved with Wycombe Wanderers and I'm a guarantor. So there has been a long link between the club and the guarantors, not only just providing facilities.
I was going to say, so nice to have that partnership between the club as well, and I've heard so many examples of how football clubs generally, but obviously Wycombe Wanderers are such a real part of the community and a real kind of hub as well. Yeah,
absolutely. I mentioned the hub. Obviously, we've got the Warm Hub, which is running through January and February on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, where people over 65 and a guest of theirs can come and have a free meal at the club and have some warmth and some chat with old friends. So it is something we are trying to drive the club through in terms of much more interaction with the community.
And some fantastic feedback from that. I'm sure people listening might have seen on the High Wycombe Facebook page that Peter Cartwright attended and wrote so glowingly about the occasion, and again how brilliant it was to see old faces again, and so nice that representatives from the Ex-Players Association are there as well, who would have played around the time that the older members of the community would have watched them, and a great chance for them to meet them too.
Absolutely, and as we go through January and February, we will try and get current players there as well, just to make it a real occasion for people, not just come down for the warmth, but to make it a real event.
And obviously the community is something that's really important to the Trust, and I know you do a lot of great work for One Can Trust as well, and the club's really supporting that charity as well.
Yeah, we have a collection every home game for One Can Trust, and we regularly have a car full to take back to the warehouse. So yes, it is about the community, and the football club should be at the centre of that community. So that is really what we're aiming to do.
And brilliant that that people of a certain generation are being supported, and there are facilities for them as well. Obviously, who are both fans of the club, but also just live locally too.
Yeah, and it's something in terms of we want Adams Park to be welcome to everybody in the community. We have a lot of work going on in terms of inclusivity and diversity. That is very important to us. We want to be able to reach out to the entire community of High Wycombe. We've done a lot of good work with the Muslim community, encouraging them to come to football. But it's just working with the whole community and making sure that everybody feels welcome to be able to come down to Adams Park and hopefully watch a winning team.
It's strange, isn't it? Because you just assume everyone knows. But I don't know, during the pandemic, especially when there were vaccinations at the ground as well, and several people stopped me and said, "Oh, how do I get to Adams Park?" And you just assume people know that it's there and what's available. Yeah,
and we just have to drive it all the time. You're absolutely right. We just assume that people know, but it's amazing when you talk to people that they don't, and it's really just getting that message out that says, we have a welcoming club. Whoever you are welcome at Adams Park.
And there really are some brilliant initiatives that you're involved in, as you say, that the Warm Hub and also other great work for the community, and really nice way for people to feel supported and involved and connected to the club too.
It is, and as I say, it's something which is top of our agenda in terms of we are working very hard as a club to make sure that there is inclusivity, that everybody feels welcome and comes down and enjoys himself. And obviously, if people come to the Warm Hub, that's an opportunity to talk to people as well about what we're doing.
That's fantastic. So it's Tuesdays and Thursdays from now and through till next month as well.
Yep, January and February, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 until 8. And the food is excellent. I can vouch for that.
Thank you very much. Good to get the review of that as well. Worth going along for just for the food, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Not at all. Thank you very much.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers show, we'll hear from Wycombe Wanderers women winger turned striker Sally Grimm, and we'll catch up with manager Gareth Ainsworth as well as we look ahead to the visit of Sheffield Wednesday to Adams Park, which is where we head now though. I'm very pleased to say we can catch up with someone who is far too modest to say himself, but a Wycombe Wanderers hero from the 1960s, Wycombe Wanderers ex-player association, Vince Faulkner. Hello, sir.
Hello there, good evening, how are you? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. I'm very well, thank you. Hope you are too. Thank you so much for speaking to us live.
It's a pleasure.
And really great to have you on. And also, of course, such a great cause that you're at as well. It's night 2 of the Social Warm Hub.
That's right, yes, we're down here again. It's the second evening this week. We did it on Tuesday. I've got my co-committee man, Keith Sanders, with me. We fronted it with Mark and everybody else down here. So we've had another 15 people here tonight. We've had a lovely evening. It's just coming to a conclusion. It was a lovely meal and everybody's enjoyed it. They've been playing games and had a good old chat. So, yeah, it's been a very nice evening. Thank you.
So many benefits. I mean, such a great social occasion for, older members of the community, but also, really great that yourself and Keith Samuels are there because, I'm sure many people will come along in future and have already as well who've seen you both play and must have great, a great opportunity to sort of chat to you about your memories and theirs of watching you as well.
Well, that's right. So thank you for that. Yeah, it's been a good evening. The first evening on Tuesday we had 11. It's been word of mouth go around. People aren't just restricted to come in once. They can come all the way through. This goes on every Tuesday and Thursday through this month of January and right up until the end of February. So we're really hopeful that by the end of this we've got lots and lots more people to come down. We've obviously got other ex-players lined up to come down and sort of relieves Keith and I. We've got people like Barry Baker, John Maskell and Len Worley have agreed to come along and host the evenings as well. So we're looking forward to that.
When you said you had 11 on Tuesday, I thought you could have had a game.
Well, it's 2 5-a-sides or whatever, near enough. But it was very good.
So obviously you spend a lot of time at Adams Park as well. I mean, are there particular occasions that you often get asked about in games that yourself and Keith were involved in?
Well, yes, in actual fact, we've been sitting with a couple on a table tonight, have been reliving the Bedford game and Blythe Spartans and various other bits and pieces. So people from the sort of the over 65 eras have come down and asked us all about the games and everything else. So it's a pleasure to be here and it's a nice family community club. As you know, it's been going on for years and years. And, I'm proud to be part of it.
And I know as well, when we spoke to you in your profile part of the show as well, a very memorable game was when you were playing against Wycombe and there was a very quick goal in the Berks and Bucks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was club captain at the end of my career for Cheshire. And we played Wycombe in the semi-final of the Berks and Bucks Cup. And, I'm afraid a colleague of mine, Pete Johnson, scored an own goal in 5 seconds. Unfortunately, we finished up losing that match, but we did eventually get to the final and win it, basically because Graham McKenzie, who I met for the first time again at our recent club dinner, had played previously in the tournament. So the game was cancelled and we carried through. So we went on to win the final and lifted the trophy. So it was one of those games. I think the record's just been beaten now. This record stood for a number of years, but I think it's been beaten now by the quickest own goal. But a colleague of mine, Pete Johnson, was unfortunate enough to do that.
I'm really great for the Ex-Players Association to be involved in this initiative, obviously with the foundation and club sponsors' dreams as well. A really fantastic community thing that people can come along to, this month and next month and enjoy the food and enjoy great company as well.
Well, this is right. No, it's been a pleasure to come down. I live sort of away. I live up in Buckingham now, but it's a pleasure to come down. And as I said earlier, I'm part of the Ex-Players Committee, along with Keith and John Maskell. And it's a pleasure to be part of it, and to see the club continue to grow.
So anyone who's over the age of 65, you can bring a guest as well. It's called the Warm Hub. It's at Adams Park at Monty's. Obviously, we can recommend the food as well. Great company. And,
that's right. So in actual fact, there's only one person needs to be 65, because if people are struggling for transport, then they can get a son, a daughter, a grandson, or somebody to bring them down and be a guest of their guest, if you understand me. So it's not just necessarily for the over 65s. Predominantly it is, but you can have somebody bring you along who's not that age and still stay for the evening.
And you never know who you might bump into. There was some feedback online from Peter Cartwright, who came along on Tuesday, and he saw some people that knew him from years ago.
That's right.
It's a really great opportunity to sort of rekindle relationships again.
Well, that's right. And also as well, Mr. Couhig's been in this evening as well with his wife, Missy. They've just flown in from the States. They come over for a board meeting and also to see the Sheffield Wednesday game on Saturday. So they came in, Rob Couhig and also Trevor Stroud, who's on the board. So they've been in here as well. And also this evening, Joe Jacobson stuck his head in as well and introduced himself. So it was, another stage as well. It was very good.
You literally never know who might turn up.
Well, this is true.
A fantastic initiative.
Just get me.
And as you say, other members from the Ex-Players Association as well, and people like Len Worley and Barry Baker, who we spoke to a few weeks back as well.
That's right.
And I think
Tom Maskell, the goalkeeper who played over 700 games for the club, is a legend. So, it's all working very well. It's going in the right direction. And Mark Gateskill has done a very good job in getting everything together. And his staff here, they've been more than welcoming. And it's a pleasure to be part of it.
I was going to say, you must find it really rewarding as well, yourself and Keith, just to be able to share, experiences of fans and perhaps even people who've not been to the ground before.
No, that's right. I may say there are a number of people, when you speak to them, do you come and watch the games? Oh, no, we just heard it word of mouth, so we thought we'd come and give it a try. And we're coming back. So they may even come to games as well, which will be good.
No, absolutely. And so important at this time of year as well, January, just after Christmas, and with the weather not being too good, the temperature's set to drop again, next week. And really nice to be able to offer the older members of the community somewhere to go a couple of days a week.
Well, that's absolutely right as well, with the heating situation as it is as well, and obviously with the food and, cost of everything these days. It's nice that Dreams and obviously the council and everybody else have put in themselves aside to assist the community. It's lovely.
And some sad news for the Ex-Players Association recently as well. Brian Lee, the ex-manager, has lost his wife as well.
That's right. Yeah, Shirley Ann, unfortunately, she was a lovely lady. Great support to Brian. And over the years, she's been down here when he was at the football club and with the FA, and she'll be sorely missed. And the second one I had this week as well was a gentleman, Bill Clear, who's was a renowned referee in this area. We went to his wife's funeral, unfortunately, on Monday. So, unfortunately, it seems to be part and parcel at the moment. But, we wish Brian well, and obviously our thoughts are with Brian and the family. And, we will be attending the funeral as and when we know when the date is.
And someone else we lost not that long ago as well was John Reardon, of course, but there's a fantastic tribute coming to him at the club later this month as well.
Well, that's right. I'm pleased to say that the ex-players have managed to play a large part in that with our charity for last year, 2022. We've financed, with Mark, we've managed to put some money into there to refurbish a building that's being opened by Martin O'Neill on the 30th. So that's going to be a great day. I think there'll be up to about 60 people, invited guests here. And, we're looking forward to another super day.
And a great tribute to someone who's had so many roles at the club, of course.
Well, of course, I think JDT, John Taylor, has mentioned it. He is known as Mr. Wycombe. And I think that just sums up what everybody's feelings for him are.
And great to have a room sort of in his memory that people perhaps who are younger fans who perhaps aren't aware of the contribution that he had at the club can really appreciate. Absolutely right. I mean, so I've had the pleasure of seeing it. It's near its conclusion, and it's a credit to Mark and his team on what they've done. And it's a real tribute to John, and I'm sure his family will be really appreciative of it when it's finished. Now, on a lighter note, we should talk about the Ex-Players Association annual quiz, which I know is something that you're heavily involved in as well. That's right. Yeah, unfortunately, myself and John Maskell, we organise that. It will be our 12th event this year, and I'm pleased to say that's on the 25th of March. Start at 7:30. Everybody's welcome. It's a single course meal. It's a brilliant evening, although I say it myself. And I'm pleased to say that the first four to actually commit themselves to it were the four previous winners. So we've got the Baldenites who won it last year. Then we've got, in actual fact, Trevor Stroud's team, which were
things did get better. He named that the year before, things might get better. Well, they won it the next year and said things did get better. Then you've got Rod Lavers from the Chinner organisation, and then you've got Mike Knox, School for Scandal. So we've got 4 teams that have won it in the last 4 years, all coming back again to go for the trophy.
So this sounds like a very fun event, but also something which people must take very seriously as well.
Well, we do, and I might say we do, as probably as you know, with the Ex-Players Association, we do 4 events a year. We do the quiz, which starts the season off in March. We do the Bowls Day, which is in June. We do a Golf Day in July, and then we have the big annual dinner, which JDT and Alan Hutchinson organise, which is done in November. And all of those fees and all the monies raised go to the charity, which we are going to nominate on our next meeting, or committee meeting, on the 7th of February, and then we'll let everybody know which will be the 2023 charity.
I think that's one of the great things about the Ex-Players as well. Obviously, not only that it brings so many generations of players together, but raises money for such good causes, and also helps the club so much as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, so we've been going, as we said, over 12 years now, and we've raised in excess, I think, of £30,000 that we've donated back out into the wider charity world. We've done everything that we can, and long may it continue.
It really feels like the Ex-Players is going from strength to strength, especially after the pandemic, when you obviously could be less active, but as you say, there are events coming back now, and so many wanting to sort of benefit from the activities that you can offer.
Well, that's right. I mean, so you're quite right. The pandemic did put a block on everything, but we kept going behind the scenes. We had sort of phone call meetings and various other bits and pieces. And we've continued on, and as I say, we were fortunate enough to raise a substantial amount of money to put to the John Reardon Fund this year. So we were pleased about that.
And so much to celebrate about the club as well. Just some of the things that we've spoken about alone. The Reardon Room and this warm hub that's happening. So much that the foundation does as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, say it's a pleasure, as I say, to meet Mark. He's just taken over here, and he's doing a superb job. And it's been a pleasure to be part of literally everything that's going on at the club at the moment.
And really nice that the Ex-Players can have a presence at the games as well. I'm sure you and many others will be there on Saturday as well to see the
Well, we do. I mean, there's a number of Ex-Players, John Bignell, myself. We do a tour around on Saturdays. We take the players around to the boxes to introduce them to people who have raised or had the boxes for dinners on that day. And we take the players that are not playing on the day and introduce them to them. So that's another thing that we do as an aside.
So how can people find out more if they want to get involved in any of the things that we've spoken about?
Sorry?
How can people find out more if they want to get involved in any of the things we've spoken about?
Well, you can contact the club. Basically, John Taylor does a brilliant newsletter that goes out, and obviously there's online situations with the club, and there's an Ex-Players line as well, so they can find out all of that through JDT. And
the Warm Hub runs for the rest of this month and next month. You can book in advance.
It's right. It runs every Tuesday and every Thursday for the remainder of January and February.
And fans may well be lucky enough to meet you there as well.
Oh, well, you never know. I've done 2, so we should probably be here for more. But as I say, Keith and myself are fronting it on behalf of the Ex-Players at the moment. And, long may it continue, and I'll just hope that more people come down.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you so much for your time.
No, it's a pleasure, and thank you for the courtesy. Lovely.
Vince Faulkner speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound from the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, currently at Adams Park at the Warm Hub, as we say, which is on a Tuesday and Thursday evening, run by the Foundation and club-sponsored Dreams, of course, launched this week, night 2 tonight, and sounds like it's going from strength to strength. And, of course, a big thank you to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association as well.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers show. What, already? It goes so quick, doesn't it? Still to come, we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth. We'll find out what the team are doing with their weekend off. We'll talk a bit about the transfer window. Only a little bit. Not giving too much away, obviously. And preview the visit of Sheffield Wednesday to Adams Park on Saturday. Set to be a bumper attendance at Adams Park. But first, we turn our attention to Wycombe Wanderers women, who are next in action next week. Their first game of 2023 was due to be at Eastleigh on Sunday, but the weather put paid to that. but going pretty well. A team in transition, as I'm sure you've heard, with Craig and Dan taking over. We spoke to Dan, I think that was last week, wasn't it? And this week we're speaking to Sally Grimm, who has been promoted, if that's the right word, I think it is, taken the step up from the reserves to the first team, and as you can imagine, is rather enjoying her time.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've enjoyed stepping up to the first team. I did really enjoy playing with the reserves, but it's just nice to know that you can progress through the ranks.
Because it's nice, isn't it? You're a great sort of example of, it must be really, really nice for other players to kind of look up to, if you like, as well, and see that there is that pathway to make it to the first team.
Yeah, I guess the under-18s, knowing that there is a way for them to go through the reserves and all the way up to the first team, it'd be really nice, yeah.
And how have you found the switch in terms of level and kind of general experience?
You can tell with the experience side, the new league, there are a lot older, more experienced players, but with the right team around you, it feels like just a football match.
Does it feel like a real sort of step up for you as well?
Yeah, I think there is a change in the quality of play, which I think was nice when you feel ready that you can step up to a higher quality.
And you've had a change of position as well. What's that been like?
Yeah, it was tough at the beginning. I've always been a winger, but being more central, taking up that 9 spot, it's really made me work more on scanning and being able to turn either way. I no longer have a line to follow.
And what would you say have been some of the highlights of your own time in the first team so far?
I guess, stepping up to the first team, my first game playing with them against, I think, Oxford City, it was just, even though we didn't necessarily win, it was like such a great experience. And just when you have like a good achievement in the game, it's really good. And
didn't you get player of the match?
Seemed to get all of the things that comes with the first game, managed to come with mine. But yeah, it was good.
That must be really nice for you as well, to kind of announce your arrival, if you like, and show that you're right for that level.
Yeah, it's just now you need to keep it up. Now I need to keep it up. So yeah.
No, definitely. Is there real competition for places in the team, would you say?
Yeah, I think obviously with the pathway up through the reserves and under-18s, there's always competition between who starts, who's playing, and even bringing in external people from other teams. There's always like a competition, which I guess keeps you playing at your best.
So how would you assess how the season's gone so far? Because obviously there have been some disappointing results, but I guess, it's a season of transition for the team, and also there have been some great sort of moments of character as well, where you fought back from being like 4 or 3 goals down as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're 7th or so in the league, but we could easily bump up to 4th, 5th, winning our next few games. But having the change of management, it was definitely, I think, a shift at the beginning. But now we're settling in. I think it could go really well for the rest of the season.
So how have you found that sort of new sort of ways of working with the coaches, and obviously playing sort of a new home ground as well?
Burnham's great. It's got such great facilities there, and we're really lucky to have that. And with the new management, I've really enjoyed it because we've incorporated like the teams together. So you can train if you're in the under-18s with the first team, which I guess is really nice to know that you are being watched by obviously Dan and Carl, and there is opportunities there for you.
And has it made a real difference training twice a week now as well?
Yeah, you can tell it's made a difference training those Tuesdays and Thursdays, having 2 opportunities to work on what you've done on Sundays. It's been really good.
And does it feel like, the whole team is really close? Not only, the whole squad really, not just the first team, but as you say, the whole group, the under-18s and the reserves as well?
Yeah, I think so. There are definitely like groups, of course, within, but training together, I think, really helps like bridge gaps between teams.
And obviously that you've not played for a little while, and you've not had a first game of the year yet, because last week's game was off. But it must be a real, really sort of exciting sort of to start the new year. As you say, so much to look forward to, and hopefully climb the table.
Yeah, definitely. I think our next game's the 22nd in a home game. So be really nice to get back into. We did have a training match on Sunday, but it'll be really good to get back into the league fighting spirit.
And do you sort of set yourself targets and things you'd like to achieve in the remainder of the season?
Yeah, of course. It'd be really nice to finish off the season on a high with the team. But yeah, I guess everyone has personal goals as well.
And what would you say to anyone who's not yet come to see any of your games? As you say, another opportunity coming up at Burnham next week.
Yeah, it's such a great place to come and watch football because you've obviously got the stands, you've got the bars, you've got the food that they sell there as well. It's not just standing on the side of a field in a playground. It feels like you're coming to watch the game, not just be there.
Also, many thanks to Sally Grimm, Downley resident, currently studying A-levels, the final year of those. Asked her how they were going. She said she's coping. I think it's very good achievement, definitely for A-levels. Don't forget the under-18s and reserves in action this weekend as well. In other news, we've drafted Luke in for the return of the notice board section to the show.
Good evening and good luck to Sally for the completion of her A-levels.
Yes. Ooh. In other news, David Wheeler is the special guest at the next online session of Chairboys Chat. You might have heard Mark and Kirk speaking about this from the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation recently. It takes place on Monday. He follows in the footsteps of former player Scott Davis, who led the discussion on mental health and well-being. This week's session via Zoom. Monday's event will also feature a talk from Men's Nap, who support men's mental health through photography projects. That was nearly quite badly.
I think that's Men's Snap.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Didn't you speak to them?
Yes.
Well done.
Yes, they were a guest on...
They were.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hopefully that bit won't be in the podcast version.
Oh, it will.
Men's Snap.
There we go.
Not Men's Nap.
That's silly.
For people that want to doze or something. Yeah, no, I spoke to them. They're made up of a professional photographer and a psychologist. I remember now.
See?
Thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
If only we'd rehearsed that bit a bit better. Chairboys Chat's an initiative run by Wycombe Wanderers Foundation, which is launched earlier this season with in-person sessions on match days and is now trialling, I nearly said trailing, an online variety through this month as well. You can find more details on the Wycombe Wanderers website. Thank you so much for pointing that out.
So you can tell it's live though.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have done that if it was
No.
pre-recorded. Still to come, we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth. You've got some news for the notice board as well.
Yes, you may have seen, this was, it just missed last week's show, sadly. But Anis Mehmeti, who celebrated a birthday this week, happy birthday, was named as one of the EFL's 21 under-21s. Although the next day he turned 22, but he just about made it, which is great. And he's had a brilliant season so far, and I think a lot of people, including Nigel, who'll be back with us on Saturday, have a bromance with Anis.
Absolutely,
he's been brilliant.
Sheffield Wednesday, of course, the fixture at Adams Park is closing in on a sellout, so if you've not yet got your tickets for the visit of the Owls, which last season, of course, was the biggest and saw a large Spanish contingent attend, which you spoke to one of them.
Of course, yeah, I forgot that was very good. That was a great atmosphere, and the big question for Saturday will be, is Stocko playing?
Yes.
Will he be returning? Can we play the Bing Bong David Stockdale's here?
Absolutely. He did so well, didn't he, with his advertising slogans last season.
It's very good. And it'll be great to see Adams Park full again, and it'll be great to be back. The first one of the year.
I was going to say, it feels like so long.
It really does.
Since we had football at Adams Park.
Last time it was snowing.
It was probably in a couple of weeks ago, though, was it?
No,
a bit more than that.
About a month ago, I reckon.
Right.
Yeah, because it's already the 12th of January, so yeah, I reckon about a month ago.
Yes. So if we're not careful, we've got quite a bit of fixture congestion because the Oxford game obviously has been rearranged, the Fleetwood game as well because they're in the FA Cup action later this month. That was due to be on the 28th of January. So a few Tuesday night games to look forward to coming up as well. Busy month, but Wycombe sitting just outside the playoff places at the moment in a real good position to really kick on.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to be. I think Gareth said, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I don't think there would have been some people in the fan base that would have thought we would be where we are now. But, no one's really talking about Wycombe. It's what Gareth likes. He can sort of just, hopefully if Anis doesn't leave as well, that would be great. And I think we are in a great position for the second half of the season.
Yes, we are avidly keeping an eye out for transfer news at the club, both incomings and outgoings.
Have you noticed they keep doing sort of tweets that are about Anis that could be like, he's going, but they're not?
Oh, no.
It's very funny. Well done, Matthew Sesson.
Yeah, no, it's please stay, Anis. We need you. But always fantastic to watch as well, and other young players. Great to see Lewis Wing getting on the score sheet a few times recently as well. TJ, of course, we wish him well in his recovery. He could be featuring as early as Saturday, but Gareth still to make a decision on whether he'll start. Yeah,
definitely, and Supermax as well in goal has been absolutely brilliant.
No, absolutely, and picking some of his playlist picks as well, they really stand out.
They were really good. Dobbo's this week, which you can watch on the pre-match drills, I forgot what it's called, on the Wanderers TV at the moment, but we'll play some on Saturday as well. Good mix.
Absolutely, very different to the manager.
Oh, very, very. It's why they get on so well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely perhaps not what you'd expect from Richard Dobson, but... Yeah, so very interesting choices from him there. And as you say, of course, live commentary from Adam Spark and match build-up from midday as well. Yeah, we'll be live in the car park from 12, and Phil Catchpole and Toby, I believe, will be your commentary team on Saturday from 3 o'clock. I think it'll be a bit wet. No, it's going to stop raining at 12. It'll be while we're putting the gazebo up, so we'll be wet. They'll be fine. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Lots to look forward to. Anything else for the notice board section? No, that's it for this week. If you have anything, twws@wycombsound.org.uk. Thank you very much indeed. Still to come, or shall I say, to wrap up the final part of the show a little earlier on this morning as part of the media briefing. We caught up with manager Gareth Ainsworth at the training ground, who let us in a little on what's been going on at the club in the last sort of week or so without a game at the weekend.
Yeah, players have had a bit of time off. I've been in a little bit, future planning for the club and things, and it's been nice. It's been a bit of a rest, and to be fair, the weather was terrible last week as well. So we struggled to get on the training ground a little bit. Our training ground seems to get the weather times 10, whatever the weather is, we'll get it times 10 at the at Lane End. But it's been test this week, training in different places, and so the injury risk of training on such a wet surface is always high. So we try and utilise pitches around the local area and quality pitches. Bisham Abbey's been used a couple of times and things like that. So it's been testing, but it's been a nice break as well, especially on the back of a 3-0 win away at Peterborough. Boys were sensational that day, and we're looking forward to getting into Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, because it's going to be a good crowd. It's going to be a big game, obviously, in the league. And I've said, anyone who finishes above Sheffield and Ipswich probably, and will definitely be in the playoffs. And I think they'll be automatically promoted as well. I think those two are going to be the teams that people will need to catch.
You hear people say, sometimes a break can come at a good time if team's not in good form or has a lot of injuries. And then, conversely, if a team's doing well in momentum, then, it can interrupt that. Is that something you feel as a manager, or is that more of a sort of a myth, really?
No, obviously the time with injuries is vital, and you've got to take that into consideration. So definitely another week has helped the injured players. Momentum is in the mind, and that's up to me and my staff now to make sure that the boys are on it and keep this rolling, keep this train going, because the boys have been really good lately, really, really good. And we've had some tests, I've had some real moments and some incidents, thinking about the TJ thing at the end of the game at Plymouth, and, coming back and the changing of the team. And it's been a real productive month, and it's up to us to keep reminding the boys that they're in a good place, and we can go and have a go at anyone. Hopefully the legs are rested, and we'll spring into action again 3 o'clock on Saturday.
And congratulations to yourself for being nominated for the Manager of the Month, but a real sort of endorsement for what the team has done, and obviously your backroom staff as well in the last sort of few weeks.
Yeah, listen, Manager of the Month should be renamed to everyone who works at the club of the month, because it's a team effort. It always is, and I think that every little person who does it our way and does it the Wycombe way and is a part of the culture, they'll play a part, So there's people in the offices, there's people in the media, there's people in the staff, there's people, the chef, there's people, all of them. Everyone adds to what Wycombe are. So it's nice that I'm head of it, and yeah, I'll get the stick when it goes wrong, but I don't mind that. That's fine. That's broad shoulders, and I'll take that, and I'll take all the pressure off everyone else. But when we do achieve, I think that it's nice to give everyone some credit, because they've all bought into what I believed in at the start. Maybe not at the start, but after 18 months of management, when I tried to believe in, and it's been a steady progression. So yeah, it's great to be nominated, but as always, it's a club effort, and players have been fantastic for me, especially over the busy Christmas week.
I imagine January brings extra challenges as well with the transfer window. Are there in particular anything you can say about areas that you're looking to strengthen in, or perhaps inquiries that you've had about players?
I'm not going to tell you about any inquiries. End that one there. But we've definitely identified a few places that we may want to look at to be stronger. let's see, injuries come into play here, and obviously what we're going to need, and you need a crystal ball, Colin, sometimes to see what you're going to need in March and April. But we lost Anis and Brandon last year at crucial times, and Wingy got sent off. So you can never sort of just judge this. It's a bit of luck, I think, as well. But I'm glad that Darryl Horgan's going to go and get games at Stevenage. That's really good for him. I think there'll be one or two more on the fringes going out, but keeping all of the regulars, I think, will be a good window for us. And maybe there'll be one or two, but Rob's backing me. It's not like there's no funds there, but as always, I need to be totally sure, right time, right place, right player, right price as well, and that's important for me. So I won't overpay for players, because I won't ever want to put this club in danger of things that other clubs have been in. So we'll steadily do it, but we'll do it the right way.
And it really feels like, what you sort of said would happen is kind of happening in terms of the second half of the season. Players are coming back, and the team's doing so much better in this period, and a really nice way to start 2023, as you say, with Sheffield Wednesday coming to town and what looks like a bumper crowd on Saturday. Yeah, it is. It's only one game of the second half of the season, so we've got to be careful. It's been really good Christmas, and I knew that when we got the players back, when we got the way we want to play, and everyone buying into everything, I knew that the second half would be good. But I don't want to have to eat my words and have a poor second half of the season. We've had a really decent first half of the season. If we go again, we'll be somewhere near those playoffs with the same tally of points. But I want to try and push as much as we can. You never know what could happen, but really happy with where we are, and hopefully we get a win on Saturday as well. Fantastic. And just finally, a quick word on the Warm Hub, which is obviously something I'm sure you're aware of that the club's doing, that launched this week and is on again tonight. A fantastic opportunity for the older members of the community to come along. But what's really nice as well with the ex-players is that, people like Vince Faulkner and Keith Samuel will be there, and great opportunity for people who've seen them play, in the past, to kind of have a chat with them and sort of relive what they used to watch the club doing. Absolutely. It's great that the club does these things. I was with the foundation the other day, doing something nice for them, and Mark was very, very good, and we want to reach out to our community. They give us so much, and we always ask for more and more and more, and keep coming down and giving us your money, but we do want to be known as a club that also gives back as well. And I think that the older generation, definitely the demographic around here is important to look after, especially with the crisis of the fuel bills and the cost of living at the moment. And if we can chuck in a couple of ex-legends as well, they're great. They're a great double act, those two. They're brilliant. They really are. And I'm sure that they'll be entertaining, and really, really proud to have them as part of the club, and two former brilliant players as well. So just great to be involved with Wycombe, and those moments are the moments which are important. The football's great, but there's definitely more important things in the world than football. Pleasure to speak to the manager as always. Wish him and the team all the best for Saturday, Adams Park against Sheffield Wednesday. The Chairboys sitting just 2 points outside the playoff places at the moment in 7th. Saturday's opponents, Sheffield Wednesday, of course, currently in the automatic places. Them and Plymouth getting a bit ahead at the moment. We talked about the game coming up, which has been rearranged, I should say, which was due to be played against Fleetwood at the end of this month on the 28th. That's been rearranged for March the 7th. After Sheffield Wednesday's game, it's a trip to Bristol Rovers. That's come up the following Saturday, 21st, and then 24th of January, that rearranged game at home to Oxford. That's on a Tuesday night. Lots to look forward to coming to Adams Park, and if you're following home or away, in fact, of course, if you can't get to any of the games, don't forget live commentary on Wanderers TV, and of course here on Wycombe Sound on 106.6 on a Saturday, or maybe even a Tuesday evening as well. Back next week. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Another Wycombe Wanderers ex-player to speak to, one who's very recently announced his retirement from football. There's a clue. And lots more to come as well, including other transfer news as the transfer window continues. We'll have Phil on again, of course, and more from the manager looking back at the game against Sheffield Wednesday, which of course hasn't actually happened yet, and we'll be previewing the trip to Bristol Rovers as well next Saturday. Have a fantastic week, whatever you're up to, and speak to you again at the same time next week. Don't forget there's a podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcasts from as well, where you can listen at your leisure.